I am with Coach Maurice Douglass, head coach of the Springfield Wildcats, and we're inside the athletic center today because it's a little damp outside. We're doing this kind of stuff. Okay, 4-0 now after another good win last week, defeating Beaver Creek soundly, 42-0. You held the Beavers to -9 yards on 30 plays. That's hard to do against anyone. Can you talk about the win?
It was good to get a W. Anytime you can get a win, we're excited about that, and to have an opportunity to be 4-0. We got a lot of guys we played a lot of young kids in that game, so it was a little different than what we're normally used to offensively. I thought if we wanted to, we probably could have scored about 60, but we didn't want to try to do it anyway. But it was a good game. A lot of our guys were efficient in whatever thing that they did as far as defensively and offensively. We blocked the punt on the punt team, so we're happy about all those phases.
Okay. Defeating your first four opponents by a combined score of 133-40 is very impressive. What do you think you still need to improve on the most?
Just being consistent. We haven't had many turnovers, but we had one last week. We tried to make a play at the end of the quarter, the half, and Tayshawn threw a corner route, got intercepted. But other than that, I think our guys, we just have to continue to be efficient, be effective, and make sure that we are blocking our proper duties on the offensive line, and that we're working our combination blocks and things like that. I think that's the one area, if I had to say area that we need to work on, and that's the offensive line, just continuing to get that continuity together.
Speaking of the offensive line, generally doesn't get enough credit. Can you talk about a couple of the guys on your line that have really stood out that you really rely on?
Vashawn Washington. Vashawn's a left tackle for us. He's 6'5", 285. He's been a 3-year starter for us. He's shown a lot of maturity this year because now he's the guy that's in that leadership position. He's done a good job for us. Then Creighton Munshaw. He's our right guard, and then our right tackle, Butter has done a good job. He's been a 2-year starter for us on the offensive line. And our offensive line, those guys have done a good job because we're starting a freshman at center, and those guys have done a good job of making sure that he knows his assignments and knows all the things he needs to know as far as the blocking schemes and what kind of fronts we have, because Creighton's normally calling out the fronts for us on the offensive line. And just to make it easier for the freshmen, I'd have to make those calls.
It's hard to discuss your own team without talking about Tayshawn Smoot. He's second at GWalk in passing and 7th in rushing. Can you tell us a little about him?
Tayshawn is just a tremendous leader. That's who I was talking to a moment ago. And we were talking about Eddie George. They called him on Thursday night about at TSU, and just telling me that they would love to have him as their quarterback. But he's a tremendous leader. He'll do whatever it takes for the team. Right now, we're in a position where he doesn't have 3 of his top 4 receivers. And so they're out with injuries, so he's been playing with a slew of freshmen and sophomores, and he's been doing whatever it's taken for us to be in this position. But hopefully this week, we'll get a couple of those guys back and make the game a little bit easier for him offensively. But he's just a tremendous leader. He can throw, he can make all the throws, he can run if he needs to run. We don't want to run him that much, but the last couple of weeks have called for him having to run a little bit. Against Wayne, he had a big-time game running because they were giving us that. And so he's just done whatever it's taken for us to be in the position we're in now.
Okay. And then Sean Thinkman has had a great start to his season. What makes him so tough to defend?
First of all, his height. Sean's 6'4", 170. And then he's got a long stride. He's going to run probably 4.6s. But he's a guy who has great catch radius. Does great ball and jump balls. But this year he's done a much better job of working with his routes. So his routes are a lot cleaner this year than they were last year as a sophomore. But he's showed consistency, and he's done what we asked him to do, knowing that Anthony Brown has not been there. So now he has to be the number 1 receiver, and he's done a good job of filling those shoes.
Defensively, you have forced 8 turnovers already this year. What are the factors in forcing so many turnovers?
Coach Smoot, our defensive coordinator, and our strength and conditioning guy does a great job of making sure that those guys, we work on it three times a week at least in practice. But he does a good job of making sure that we pay attention that one guy tackles, secure the tackle, the next guy come in and strip and punch the ball. And we've done a good job of doing that, and hopefully this weekend, with them running the ball as much as they run it, we can put a couple more on the ground.
Okay, turning this week to Fairmont. They are first in the G-Walk in rushing, averaging 276 yards a game. What is the key to disrupting that offense?
Woo! Keeping those linemen off of our linebackers. We got to do a great job up front on the defensive line of playing with our hands, using good leverage, pad leverage, and just doing a real good job of winning first and second down to put them in third and long situations. Because if it's third and short, third and four or less, they're going for it on fourth down, and they're normally getting it on fourth down with those guys. Because Baker's done a tremendous job with those guys. I know every game he's going home getting in the ice bucket because he runs the ball enough. And we just have to do a good job up front, being physical and maintaining our gap responsibilities and tackling the assigned people.
Okay, Coach, and finally, do you think your offense will have any trouble moving the ball against the Firebirds defense?
The Firebirds defense is the #1 defense in the G-Walk. And they always, one thing Coach Miller's done, he's always had good defenses, and he's been known for that. He also had solid rush games, running games, and they've done that again this year. We just have to be consistent on offense, make sure that we don't put ourselves in third and long situations on third down, so we have some convertible third down situations for ourselves.
All right, Coach. Well, thank you for taking the time to speak with me today, and good luck on Friday.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
I'm with Coach Dave Miller, head coach of the Kettering Fairmont Firebirds. Close one last week, Coach, losing to Springfield 15-14. It was the first loss of the season, and especially tough losing the lead late in the fourth quarter. You can see a lot of guys understandably frustrated. What do you say to your team after a tough loss like that?
Well, we talked a lot about our preparation. I felt like, that week of practice in particular, and probably the week before a little bit, we did not come to practice the way that we had early in the season or up until that point. So I felt like there was kind of a taking a foot off the pedal a little bit, getting a little complacent, whatever we want to call it, which tends to happen, when you're in that situation. So, I don't think we came over ready to play. They were, so it's a dog fight. We did a lot of things that didn't help ourselves. So it was tough, trying to get them. But I think their focus is a lot better, at this point after dropping one like that. So.
Defensively, the team held the Panthers to just 162 yards. Can you talk about the defense?
Well, again, they did great until we had short fields. Both scores came after special teams mistakes that, one was we just totally blew up the punt, so that equaled a turnover deep in our own territory, really. So they're going from the 20 after they had stopped them, so they score at the end of the first half that way. And then we have a personal foul on a PAT, and our kicker's done a pretty good job putting it in the end zone. I don't know if he's going to do that or not, but that's about a probably 35-yard turnaround as far as things go. But so kicking off 15 yards back, and then they got a decent return. They're set up at about the 50-yard line and go down and score the winning touchdown and 2-point conversion. So.
Were you surprised they decided to go for the two at the end after struggling to move the ball most of the night?
No, I don't think so. I think that they just kind of went back and forth. I mean, they came out at first they were going to go for it, and then they put their PAT team out there and then called another timeout. So it was just I think there was a lot of turmoil going on the sideline over there too on what to do. It turned out to be the right call. So no, I wasn't surprised at all.
Offensively, you had to punt 3 times after only punting once during the first 4 games. You said last week they were well coached. but how were they able to disrupt your offense?
We didn't execute, and they did a good job. They schemed us pretty well too. We had trouble blocking the perimeter when we got on the perimeter. Had some issues with our reads a little bit, and then we had two very solid drives. One was a 12-play drive, another was like a 16-play drive. So we just were inconsistent. It kind of reminded me of last season. We had a lot of close games that we lost because of inconsistency. And I go back to the week of practice. I think that we were down and kind of up, and just when you start doing that, it kind of permeates into your play.
You played Springfield very tough last year, losing 27-21. You were playing catch-up the whole night, even trailing at one point 27-7. How important is it to get off to a good start and play from ahead instead of behind?
Well, it's critical. I think, with a team like that, you can't let them get too far out in front because that changes really our style and how we do things. Again, just talked about the drives. We had some monster drives against them a year ago, and a lot of special teams mistakes. I mean, really, when you look back on it, we had a muff punt for a touchdown, had a kickoff return for a touchdown. Other than that, our defense actually played pretty well. But we had some solid drives, and then we had some 3 and outs. So we were very inconsistent a year ago. And when you have a team like that, when they get too far out in front, and we have to kind of go into a hurry up, which is not really what we're used to, that doesn't bode too well for us. So we want to try to keep it manageable. I think 2 years ago they were really solid, and they were solid last year too, obviously. But we stayed within striking distance with a team I thought was not as good, nearly as good as them. And we were at one point, we were 21, getting ready to make it 21-14. If we can stay in a game like that, we'll be, better suited.
Tashawn Smoot is quite a talented quarterback. How do you make it tough on him?
Keep him off the field. I mean, it's hard because these guys they're loaded. I mean, when you look at the talent that they have this year at multiple positions, Tashawn is a great quarterback, 3-year starter. They have all kinds of weapons on offense, so we're going to have to do what we do, and that's, keep their offense on the sideline as much as we can, control the clock. We did that Friday night. We had 31 minutes time of possession again, but we got to be more consistent. We got to finish our drives and then just try to minimize, try not to give them big plays because that's what they live on. But they are so talented, and defensively this year, they've put together a pretty good defense too. So it's going to be a major test. They're really good, but I think our kids will be ready.
As per usual, one of the keys of the game will be time of possession and keeping their explosive offense on the sideline. How good is their defense, and do they match up well against your offense?
They're really good. Yeah, they're good up front. They have some, 2 tackles in particular that are really good, really talented. That makes it tough, so our line's got their work cut out for them, and Coach Feltner are working with them right now, just trying to get them ready for it. But it's going to be, we got them here, so that's good. We don't have to travel up there, but so it's a heck of a test. They're I don't know what their ranking is in the state, but it's got to be up at the top, and they deserve to be there. They're really good. So.
Okay, Coach. Well, thank you for taking the time to speak with me today, and good luck on Friday night.
Thank you, Norm.